Okay, in this video, I am going to show you how to add an ebook cover to a photograph of an e-reader or tablet device after you've taken the photograph. This is so that you can avoid situations where there is too much lighting or sunlight glare on the screen and you can't see the cover. This is a workaround for that. I'm going to be using a software program called Pixlr. It is free. It is online. You do not have to download any software. So you're going to Google Pixlr, Pixlr. You're going to come down here and you're going to choose Pixlre. Okay? Now, as you can see, I've been fiddling around with it, but I'm going to go ahead and start a new file. I'm going to click over here on Open Image. Now, I'm going to actually start by downloading my background image. I'm going to choose what I think is probably the easiest one for you guys to work with. I'm going to open this up. Now, here you have three options. Go ahead and click Web. Don't worry about these numbers here. Click Apply. So whatever photograph that you took of your tablet, whether you arranged it with candies or hearts or whatever, the one thing you need to keep in mind is that the more square onto the camera that your device is, the easier it will be to add the cover to the screen after the fact. Now, if you can take a picture and get the cover to show up on the actual screen in real life and then show up in the camera, that's always the easiest. But I have found from personal experience that that doesn't always work due to glare or fingerprint smudges or scratches on your device or whatever. So this is the way to get around that. Now, again, you're going to want to have it square to the camera when you take your photo. And I'll just show you an example of some things that are going to be more difficult to work with. For example, if you look at this photograph, you'll see how it's on an angle. It's still fairly square, so it's not too terribly bad. That's okay because this corner is just as close to the camera as this corner is for the most part. So there's a very minor change there that you'd have to work with. Let's see, where's a better one? Okay, here's a good one. Here's a good example of something that's going to be more difficult to work with. Because if you see, this corner of the device is much farther away from the camera than this corner of the device. And so it's still really simple to do, and I will show you how to do that. But just when you're arranging your photograph, if you're looking for the easiest possible way to add the cover to it in a photo editing software afterwards, you're going to want something that's more like this, where the screen is almost completely square on with the camera. Okay, so that's why I'm beginning with this one. This is going to be your easiest edit. Now that I have my background image, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to Image, and I'm going to change the image size. I want to change it to, oh wait, nope, I take that back. First, I'm going to crop it. That'll make it easier for me to get my dimensions. So I'm going to come over here. This is the cropping tool. If you hover over it, it tells you that it's the cropping tool. You click on that. Come up here, click on Ratio. It will automatically choose 1:1, which is what we want because I have found that square is just the easiest image shape to share across all the different social media platforms. You can go ahead and do different shapes for different platforms, but for me, if I'm only going to do one image, I'll do square. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're just going to click Enter because our screen here, our device screen, is already centered. Now, if I click on this, you'll see, and I haven't clicked Enter yet, just so we're clear. If I click on this, you'll see that these grid lines pop up. As long as I'm holding the mouse button down, the grid lines are there. That's to help me get my image centered. I'm pretty happy with where that's at, so I am going to click Enter now, and it went ahead and it cropped it for me. Now I'm going to come up here to Image and click on Image Size. And because I'm planning to put this on Instagram, I'm going to go with a 1080. Again, that's a dimension that is pretty friendly to most of the social media platforms. So a 1080 by 1080 square is a really good place to start with any social media image. Now you'll notice it just got smaller. What I'm doing is I've got one of those roller things on my mouse so I can roll it in and out. If you don't have one, you can click here to zoom it out and to zoom in. I just like to have it taking up the majority of the space of my screen without anything hiding from me. So that's what I was doing, just adjusting the zoom. Okay, now that we've got our background image on, we're going to go ahead and bring in the cover. So I want to go up here to Layer. I want to go down to Add Image as Layer. And now I'm going to find the Sing in the Sunlight cover. I'm going to open it. And as you can see, when you load it, it's much too big. So I'm going to zoom way out till I can see all 4 of these corners. I'm going to grab one of them. I'm going to drag it all the way down, little bitty, grab it in the middle, drag it up. Okay. Now I'm just going to zoom back in to make it easier to work with again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up that corner with the white corner on the device. I'm going to shrink this on down. Now what you'll notice is that the shape of this rectangle of the cover does not match perfectly with the shape of the rectangle of the screen on this device, right? That's okay. There are 2 different ways that we can fix that. I'll show you the easiest way. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to click this picker over here. What that does is it allows you to pick up any color from your image. In this case, I want to pick a color of this background black that's going on with the device, but if you notice way up here, we've got a super light gray, we've got a super pure black down here. What I want to pick is something that's sort of in the middle. I'm going to think probably right about here. Looks good. Okay, now I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click my shape tool, and I'm going to just create a rectangle to go behind my cover. I'm going to click over here so we can get rid of the outline. That one's a bit too light. I think I'm going to make my color a bit darker. I'm going to pick it right around in there. I'm going to try making a new rectangle. Let's see. I'm going to close. Let's see. I'm going to see these check boxes over here. That will hide and unhide. So if I hide that, then I can see the one underneath it. And I like that much better. It's a bit too thick for me. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to choose, what do they call this? They call this the Arrange tool. I'm going to come back. I'm going to click on my rectangle. And I'm going to grab that corner and just sort of shrink it down a little bit. And then I'm going to grab my cover and I'm going to nudge it up. Oops, I made my rectangle a little too small. Let's bring that back down a little. So we want to make sure we're covering. I'm using the down arrow to make fine nudging moves with the rectangle, but we want to make sure we're covering that white background. Okay, see. All right, there. That's not too bad. All right, so now that I've done that, I can zoom out. And let's see, I think I can do better here. Let's see, can I? No, I want to shrink it this way. See, I normally work on Photoshop Elements, and it gives me a few. I'm more familiar with those controls. But you know what I think? I think we're good. I think this is good enough. So this is one basic way that you could just add the cover, and that'll look just fine. Especially when you zoom it out like that, it looks fine. Okay, now the more sophisticated way of doing it, and I've got to get rid of this ad because this is a free software online. There is going to be ads. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide that rectangle that we made. Do I have another rectangle here? I must have. Where is my, oh, you know what? I didn't hide it. I unhid it. There we go. Okay. Now I have both of my rectangles hidden. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. So now we're back to the point where all I've done is I've moved this cover into on top of the photo, and I have shrunk it down. If you look over here, these are called layers. And just think of these as stacks of paper. This is the bottom piece of paper. This is the top piece of paper. You can see the bottom piece of paper because the top piece of paper is smaller, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is grab a a new tool. We're going to come up here to Edit and go down to Free Distort. Now what that does is you'll see these are little dots now instead of the little corners they were, or the little squares. We're going to drag that dot over to the corner of the white. We're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to do the same thing here and the same thing here. Now, yes, that stretched it a little bit. You can see I'm just telling it to go ahead and apply it. That stretched the image a little bit, but it also, is that still peaking? No, that's just a light spot on the cover. Okay. It also covered the white. And I don't think that it distorted it too badly. I think it was a very minor distortion, and so it works. So now it looks like it's just sitting on there, right? Okay, so that's the second way that you could do that. And then you would just come up to here. That would be all you would have to do to add your cover to the image. You would just come up here to File and Save. And then you're going to want to change the name. Let's say Sits on Log Pile. That sounds funny because the acronym sounds like sits. So it sounds like somebody's sitting on the log pile. Anyway, and then JPEG is fine. We don't need high quality because this is going online. I would probably go with medium. And these you don't have to mess with because we've already fixed those. And we're just going to click download. And now you will have the completed image, as you can see. All right. And that is something you could share on social media and on our Discord.